Hey, welcome! Steam Next Fest. We're Exceptional Games. This is Knockout 2 Wrath of the Karen. We are going to play it for you.
This is Ben. He's the artist for Knockout 2 at Exceptional Games, and I'm Tyler. I'm the programmer for Knockout 2.
Yeah.
So we'll start off with the first character in the game, Scam Brawler. He's a notorious call center employee who's been scamming grandmas across the nation, and so we need to defend the honor of our grandma against him. It's our first mission here in the FBI, the Federal Boxing Investigations Bureau. So if we hit start here, we'll go ahead and give him a fight. So there's 4 different directionalities in the punches that you can do in this game. You can punch with 2 jabs on the upper side and then 2 hooks on the lower side as well.
Those are controlled with LB, RB, and the triggers.
Alternatively, for old school gamers, you can use the lower 2, the south and west buttons here. I won't say B and Y because it depends on what kind of controller you're using. You can use PlayStation controllers and Xbox controllers. But if you hold upwards, you can do the jabs, and then if you do just the lowers without modifying it, you just do the hooks there.
Now this first opponent is supposed to be kind of a pushover. If you continually attack from one side, he will just block you. However, to open him up, you can alternate your attacks.
You can also perfect block him like that, or even just regular blocking him gives you a little bit of opportunity to punish him there. Mm-hmm. But a perfect block, which you see by the sparks flying off my gloves like that, really sends him open for a walloping.
You've got 3 resources you have to maintain. You've got your health, don't get hit. You have your special meter, the flashing yellow one right there. When that's full, you can throw a haymaker with the Y button. And then you've got the blue meter, which is stamina. Now that's not too bad of a thing, because you can always refill your stamina by landing your haymaker. So stamina drained.
When your stamina is fully drained like that, the only thing that you can do is block. But if you do block, you'll immediately gain some stamina back. If you perfect block, you'll gain a lot of stamina back and some special meter as well.
So we'll show that off. Alright. So he's used some of his stamina to punch.
And because I missed that special there, I didn't actually recover any stamina.
Mm-hmm. We're good at this game.
We're a little too good. It's hard to show off the beginning characters sometimes.
We can throw it right back in there, though.
Yeah. There's a quick way. So when you beat the game here, or you beat the characters, it gives you your time, because we had a lot of feedback from our players that they just really wanted to speed run this game. And so we made it really easy for them to be able to tell their time. So you have both the clock time there as well as the real time that it took. So if we go ahead and retry this really quick.
We'll get a little bit of experience, which means a lot more in the full game.
And some paycheck that we can't spend in the demo, but you can spend it in the full game for cosmetics as well as upgrades for your character. So I'm just going to waste a bunch of stamina here, and then wait for him to come back. And then blast him with that haymaker to gain my full special meter back. You can see I almost knocked him down with just that one combo.
Using your stamina like that to get your... using your special meter to get your stamina back puts you in this infinite loop. And once you know how to maintain that, you can play at a really high level. Yeah, knocked down. Alright, so punch out rules. 3 knockdowns in a round, and you win by technical knockout. However, if the character just can't get up before the 10 count, you also just win.
Should we show off the special mechanic here with...
Oh yeah, because some of the players have already found it. That is an instant knockout.
All of the characters in the game have at least one instant knockdown opportunity. Scam Brawler is a little unique in that his is actually an instant knockout opportunity, just so that people who are really good at the game can get through the beginning of the game really quickly. Do you want to go ahead and play Giga Chad?
Sure. Alright, more experience, more Fed cred. And on to the next character. Oh.
After listening to the Renegade, of course.
So the Renegade is your coach. He is a ghost. Much like the first game, your coach is a ghost, and it's just what we do. He will pipe up with tutorials and snark pretty much the entire time. And then the newscasters here, we couldn't just leave them behind. They were the most popular thing about the first game, so they are back. This is Jack. And he brings you the breaking news every night. Critics warn this furthers a dangerous trend of extra-legal government intervention since the adoption of boxing to solve all of our problems.
So the news acts as a way to kind of tell the story a bit and also give you a bunch of lore about the world that you're fighting in. So in this world, everything is solved through boxing. Everything from presidential debates and elections all the way to the FBI, domestic violence.
And the FBI's current charge is to find out what's causing something called Karenism to make everyday people go insane. Alright, GigaChad. He's a gymfluencer. Karenism is spreading to our agency's only safe space, the gym. A confluence of Karens has been recently taking over gyms and community centers. Take out the leader and disperse this perverse gathering.
This is a special mission, too, from the director, because his wife was stolen by the gymfluencer here.
Alright, so I want you to take note that I'm blocking, but he's breaking through those blocks. When he has flashing gloves, you cannot block. But if you time your block just right, you can perfect block it. And right now he's pretty assured of himself.
Which you can tell based on those speech bubbles, or thought bubbles rather, above his head. As he gets more and more thought bubbles, he gets more and more sure of himself.
Now that attack was completely unblockable, and you can tell because the flashing was red.
You'll notice too that the characters flash red and yellow as we're fighting them. The yellow means that there's a special opportunity for you if you manage to land a attack, either in the correct order in this case, or just in the correct timing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So usually it gives you a really long dazed opportunity, but occasionally that's also how you're going to find the secret knockdown opportunities for these opponents as well.
Now he's about to knock me down. I want to show you what it's like when you get knocked down. Hey buddy. Smack. Alright, so when you're knocked down, there's a tiny little mini game you have to play. Before the 10 count, press A in the green 5 times. And that'll get harder the more times you get knocked down. Alright, so really wailing on him now is just making him more and more assured of himself.
You notice how little damage he takes while he's in this phase as well, because he's a really tough guy, and so punching him while he's just open like that just makes him more sure of himself, because he's like, ha, you can't even hurt me. Unfortunately, you can still hurt him though.
Yeah. So what I did there was dodge. Dodge is a much safer way of avoiding damage, but it takes quite a bit of time.
And usually it doesn't give you as great of a punish opportunity either when you dodge compared to countering their attacks.
Mm-hmm. Now there are some advanced tech that you can do to get back from dodge. Let me get back up.
Oh yeah, the dodge cancel. I forgot about that.
That is brand new to this game. So you can tell if I alternate left and right, or right and left, I can come back from dodge a lot faster. Very useful if you're speedrunning. Alright.
Wasted that special against his big 45-pound weight right there, didn't you?
I did. Now what Maverick would have told me in the intermission there is that he wants you to counter-attack him. Those times that the character turns yellow or red. Certainly at the beginning of the game before we take that away. Those are opportunities for you to actually interrupt what he's doing and maybe get a little bit of extra damage.
Ooh,
if I can time it right. It's much harder to time your specials.
Yeah, not only does the time slow down a little bit when you use the special, but it takes longer than either your hooks or your jabs. So the timing is a little bit tricky to get, but once you start mastering it, you can go through these fights incredibly quickly.
We've got Jason behind the camera there. I see him typing away. You guys asking him questions? Because we're going to answer those here in just a little bit. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Steam. All right, let's really focus this guy down. Counter. Counter. Counter.
And you see those markers above his head? That lets you know that the opponent is dazed, and you can just wail on them while they're dazed. Oftentimes you'll get a nice daze opportunity like that from those special counters.
You definitely want to perfect block. You want to counter special. You want to do everything in your power to play the opponent like a fiddle. Some of that is memorization, sure, but the rest of it you can get through pretty well by just knowing what to look for and reacting. So he turns red, he turns red, he turns red, and you complete the stock, and he's down with the TKO.
It's good, too, because one or two more hits and you would have been down with the TKO.
Yeah, that's true. I was not playing very well. Once again, experience and Fed cred back in the wallet.
In conclusion, this is terrible news for my own Gymfluencer career. Breaking news! In just a few short weeks, the FBI has skyrocketed from a 51% approval rating to near universal praise. After everything from punching gas prices into submission to battling the always broken ice cream machines at McDonald's, people around the nation are rejoicing over the agency's new direction. One agent even knocked out the guy who added ads to Netflix subscriptions. We can barely keep up. Today, the feds took their first step in removing disingenuous influencers from gyms, YMCA buildings, and town swimming pools. And the agency's containment of Karenism continues. Where might they focus next?
Where indeed. So this is going to be, she's a much earlier character in the game, but we've buffed her for the demo just for a little bit of extra fun and to laugh at you guys getting your butts beat.
A confusingly named middle-aged woman is terrifying the area. Keeps showing up at the headquarters demanding to talk to the people in charge. She's been told Illuminati executives are out of office, so please escort her off the premises.
So definitely in a game called Wrath of the Karen, we had to have the standard Karen archetype. And if you go to our website or even linked by the Steam page, you'll find the game manual. We've got more information on each character. You'll find out just how much of a Karen she actually is. So she's really fast in this version of the fight. You have to be on guard. You have to either dodge and punish, counter attack, like that counter special that Tyler just did, or be really, really tight with your counter punches. Perfect blocks are always preferable when you're learning a new character.
One thing that we did to make this fight a little bit harder as well is you notice she's not flashing red or yellow. That's because we actually disable that. We have a bunch of different modifiers that we can apply to these fights in order to make them more or less challenging, and in order to make this really feel like a final boss. We decided to hide all of those opportunities for you, so you have to learn them on your own. Of course, I already know them pretty well. I just was not managing to time them very well.
Now she's the final boss of the demo, but she's not the final boss of the game, and I look forward to hearing what you guys think that might be. Victory.
Indeed. So there's something else that's implemented in this demo as well for anybody who likes speedrunning. We also did leave the time trials into the demo as well, so we'll show that after this news scene.
Ooh.
In the end, the backlash to adding self-checkout was followed by more backlash over removing self-checkout. Breaking news. Federal boxing agents were dispatched to a supermarket in Texas, not because any national crisis or major event, but because a single angry woman. Reaction online has been surprisingly positive, with crowdfunding campaigns reaching into the thousands requesting the FBI's help in other matters. One woman had this to say: "I can finally pay for my groceries without that lady yelling at me for taking too long to input my PIN number." Yikes. Have things really gotten this bad? Next time on TKO News. So, right here, you can see we have time trial and P0. there might be that might mean prestige. So in the full game, there's going to be more than one prestige level. We'll have at least prestige 1 on launch there for early access, but we also have these time trial options. So if we hit time trial here, it's going to be the same fight, but even more really. For all of the characters, they are a little bit different, but it's more or less the same fight that you've been fighting. But it will also disable your player levels, which are already disabled in the demo, but it will also disable your player equipment and everything. So it kind of puts every player on the same level playing field here for these time trials.
Yeah, time trials normalizes the character down to a canonical level. Ooh, that was good. You can really tell when he hits that counter special how much time he has in stagger to just pile on the damage.
And you notice as I'm punching those numbers as well, I'm actually getting... Ooh, I missed right there. You're actually getting some special meter back. If I do that again after... Well, I guess I won't be able to knock her down again and get the numbers, because the next time I knock her down, she will be knocked out. So you can see the little TKO animation that we have for her there. But yeah, that's pretty much the content of the demo right now. Does anybody have any questions they would like to ask us?
We've got some questions. The first one's from Discord. Casual Striking Grape asks, were there any games that were scrapped during the planning phase or development of Knockout 2?
I mean, we're always playing with new game ideas. Were there any that were specifically during Knockout 2?
Golf Towers, I think, was the only one that we
That's
made
right.
during Knockout 2. So while the artist was making some art for this game, we had a little bit of extra time. So I kind of went in and just made a silly little game demo called Golf Towers, which was an infinite runner game where you're putting a golf ball down a track and trying to avoid different towers that shoot you off of the track.
And the speeds get insane. It's actually really fun. We did a market test with it and no one really found it, so maybe we can bring it back in the future, but who knows.
Yeah, that one was mobile specific though, unlike this game.
Beverly Billionaires?
Beverly Billionaires was a life simulator where you play what's the best way to describe? Sort of like
Have you ever seen Legally Blonde or one of those teenage movies?
Yeah, a Californian popular girl.
Yeah, it was like a Jersey Shore girl, or like I don't know, it was just kind of a silly little game. We actually started that one before we started Knockout 2, but that one we didn't even end up putting it on the marketplace, on the app stores or anything. We ended up testing it and nobody really knew what it was about, and so we just kind of scrapped that idea.
If you have any questions, you can type them into Discord, Steam, or YouTube. We've got a few more questions from Discord. Federally mandated Catboy asks, would you guys ever consider developing a VR game?
Why, I would entertain that idea, and I know one of our other programmers in the office, Brittany, really wants us to make Knockout 2 into a VR game. I had to tell her the game is actually in 2D at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think 2D would work very well for a VR game, but for maybe Knockout 3, if Knockout 2 does well, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Also from Discord, Casual Striking Grape asks another question. Which characters from Election Year Knockout and Knockout 2 went through the most iterations for their mechanics and or their looks?
Well, straight up, Bertie Sanders and Donald Thump were the first two characters made for the first game. We had a pretty good idea of the flow that we wanted for Bertie Sanders as a sort of a puzzle fight. But what really took us some iteration time was Donald Thump, because we didn't know even what the gameplay loop was at the time. At first, we didn't have that resource management layer to the game, and it was much more Punch-Out-like, I would say. But the moment that we found out that we could make using special bring back your stamina, that's really what made it fun. And that constant dopamine loop was something that people really liked.
And not only that, Donald Thump, when we first designed him, was more or less just a punching bag because he was kind of going to be the first opponent in the game, or side by side with Bertie Sanders. So it wasn't until we kind of expanded the scope of that game and made him the final boss that we really had to go back and rework him and add some animations and different mechanics to make him feel more like a final boss. I think in Knockout 2, though, that character is probably going to be Florida Man.
Yeah.
Because Florida Man has a little alligator that pops up on either side of the screen, and he has two phases, one when he has his jug and one after he loses his jug. And it was the mechanics weren't too complicated, but the art was really difficult to get to work and play nicely with our systems.
Mm-hmm.
Giga Chat also had some rework.
That's right. Just before the demo launched, we were really scared that Giga Chat wasn't working. We would all play him. Tyler and I knew kind of what you were supposed to do because we designed the fight, but no one could really figure it out. So we really had to go back and wonder, why did we have no problem with it, but the other people couldn't figure it out, and it ended up being a visual problem. So we added some more layers to kind of inform you that something has changed when you're just wailing on him and not doing a whole lot of damage.
And thus those thought bubbles above his head were born.
Mm-hmm.
The final character in the game as well, which we're not going to tell you who or what it is, but they also required a bit of rework as well, just because the final boss in this game is an incredibly technically challenging fight for both players and for our own design.
Mm. It's the ultimate puzzle fight that we can create.
All right, from YouTube, the Max Gamer asks, can I test the game, please? So is there any way Max Gamer can play the game, or a small part of the game right now?
Yeah.
Well, I'll say a couple things on that. I'm sorry to interrupt you. First of all, download the demo. The demo is free. Wishlist it on Steam, because we are launching very, very soon. I think we turned it back to early access for a technical reason, but it's still going to be out very, very soon. Secondly, if you know any other languages besides English, come to our Discord. I mean, come to Discord anyway. It's actually kind of fun there. But if you are a polyglot, we are taking volunteers to help translate the game into other languages.
Yeah, as he said, the demo is live right now on Steam, and we are holding a closed play test if you want to join our Discord for the mobile version as well.
Mm-hmm.
Also from YouTube, Chicken12378 asks, so are the twins Karen's kids? So I think they're talking about the Heralds.
You know, I never really considered the parentage of those characters. I do know that they themselves are not blood related. The Heralds is a character, if you look in the game manual, you can get a little bit of forewarning about. No, I would say, deciding on the spot, they are not Karen's kids.
Yeah, I think that's it's a neat idea, but it's not something we had ever considered until just now.
That's a good question, though. It made me think.
If you have any questions, type them into YouTube, Discord, Steam. The next question, what were some of the key tools and technologies used to develop Knockout 2?
Oh, yeah. You want to start with Unity?
Yeah, so for Knockout 1, Election Year Knockout, we ended up using a really old game engine called Cocos 2DX, and we decided to really upgrade Knockout 2 by using Unity instead. So we used Unity for all of the programming in the game, and we used Visual Studio Code as well to actually write the programs, which is a really great IDE if you're into that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then for the art stack, we used Esoteric's Spine software.
That's right. That's the animation software. It's very similar to Flash, if you've ever used Flash. But the interface is more like a 3D program, say like Maya, Max, or Blender. And so you're dealing with individual pieces of the character. If you go ahead and start a fight, you can kind of see what those pieces are. And it ends up being a mix of frame-by-frame animation and tweened animation. So every time that he breaks into a different pose, that's a whole new set of symbols. And if we do our jobs well, it should look pretty smoothly when those transition between each other. The art itself is actually done in Photoshop. It is raster, We had one question I think earlier. Are these vector graphics? And the answer actually is no. Everything is painted.
In order to get these to look even more like they're part of the world and to help separate them out from the background as well, we did use Unity's shader graph tool in order to create a nice little shader for several parts of the game. And I actually hand wrote a shader to create that little rim light effect that you see on both Scam Caller as well as the player character there.
Well, mostly because the first game had black outlines. It was much more cartoony. This one being, flats and shades, gradients throughout the character. We needed a way to separate the characters not only from themselves but from the background. And so all of Alex, who is not with us right now, our other artist Alex put all these beautiful rim lights on all of the art that she was making for the game, and that wasn't in the animations because I couldn't do it myself. So programmatically, Tyler figured it out, and it was the magic sauce.
And now that we've mentioned it, it's kind of missing from the rest scenes here, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe we'll fix that.
Yeah.
Next question. Knockout 2 is currently slated for Steam and mobile. Are there other platforms you would like to see the game appear on?
Are you kidding? This would be a perfect Switch game. Look, if there are any publishers watching this at any time, get in contact with us because we need to shake hands with some people at Nintendo. We need some tooling in order to get it on Xbox and PlayStation. We are new to Steam development. We've done mobile all our lives. So if you have any information to share with us, please do.
From YouTube, Chicken12378 is asking another question. How did the knockout animation take? Maybe it's how much time did the knockout animation take?
How much time does it take to animate a character?
Yeah.
I'd say there's a solid week in Photoshop, maybe more depending on the complexity. And then a solid week in Spine to animate it, maybe more depending on the complexity. The longest time it took to make a character was the final boss, and I was in that sort of development hell for about a month. I think it's worth it though. By the time you see the finished product, you're gonna love that fight.
Great. Baby J and Stick are on Steam.
Ooh.
They don't have any questions. Baby J's feeling better today, so I'm glad you're feeling better.
So glad you missed our first stream. I like to think that maybe we did some things better in the first stream, so man, you missed out.
We had some questions from that we answered last time, but if there's anyone new joining us, I was just going to ask again. Maybe there's a different answer.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you guys have thought about it a little bit more. Tides asked, the game only worked on word games before Electioneer and Knockout. What made us embark on such an ambitious project, and how did we research it beforehand?
Right. And I think the last time we answered it was much more along the lines of, well, we like making people laugh. That's something our word games do. But it was coming up on election season, and we're all fans of, like, Celebrity Deathmatch from MTV. We're all fans of, this sort of nonpartisan political humor. Not trying to make any statements or anything else like that, just making fun of everybody until everyone laughs. And I believe, Jason, it was your idea at first. What type of game could we make for an election season? And I was like, I've always wanted to make a Punch-Out-like game.
So I actually didn't work here before we started the word games. The only word game that I actually helped build was Wordcation, which unfortunately is no longer on the app stores, but it was a real-time multiplayer word game, similar to like Words with Friends, or I guess Wordscapes is a more similar game to it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it was an evolution of some of our other games. Word Turds, once again, it's like we're just having fun. There's literally a game that you can't find naturally. You have to type it in directly. And it's an educational experience, actually.
We had another question from Chicken12378 on YouTube asking will Karen have her own song, or will any of the characters in the game have their own?
Man, I
background
wish. Man, I wish. So MJ Quigley, the Quiggles, if you go to SoundCloud, Mr. Quiggles, if you go to SoundCloud, he is an amazing, amazing composer, and he did the music for the first game, and he did the music for this game. Unfortunately, I have not asked him for individual character themes, and that's a function of time. It's a function of budget, but maybe I would love to do something like that in the future.
The final boss, however, does have her own theme, or its own theme. Maybe I gave away something there, but
Yeah, just like the first game, there's the fight theme, the menu theme, and the final boss theme. And we haven't revealed the final boss theme, but it is he outdid himself. I have to say, it is epic, and
very fitting with the theme as well.
I didn't expect it to be that good.
All right, next up, what are the biggest changes between Election Year Knockout and Knockout 2?
Well, there are a couple of mechanical changes, but really what it comes down to is the way that this game is programmed. Tyler really loves systems, and those systems come into play into making sure that these fights work the way that we intend them to work.
Yeah, so there's some technical improvements there, and the first game, I don't know how many of you know about programming or not, but the first game was kind of just a big bunch of nested if statements in order to get the characters to fight the way that we wanted them to. Whereas in this game, I actually wrote a finite state machine that we use. So each of the characters goes through a different amount of finite states, and that directly controls the flow of the fight. Not only that, though, we also have some technical improvements on the wardrobe. So the player character is much more customizable in this game than they were in Election Year Knockout. Though some of the pieces may or may not end up making it into the game, it is a vast improvement, and the color palettes are even just an improvement if that's the only customization that we end up giving you.
Mm-hmm.
But the missions are also something unique here in Knockout 2. So essentially there's a set of procedural missions that generate for your day, your week, and your month, and you use those in order to earn extra Fed creds and extra experience, which brings us to the next mechanic. There's now an experience meter in this game, and you can actually level up, which changes your stats as you level up in this game. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to add this time trial system, because we still wanted a way for players to be able to speedrun and judge against each other, rather, you know. And so by using the time trial system, it removes all of your levels and all of your equipment to really give you a, level playing field. And you spend those Fed creds on not only customizations for how your character looks, but also upgrades in the form of like gloves and FBI badges and
all the things that make you more powerful or stronger or beefier, especially as you prestige into the next circuit. Now the opponents are going to get more difficult, and it's not just damage sponge type of difficulty. It really is. They're going to fight different, and so you will want to spec your character accordingly.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a related question Baby J had from Steam. Are there going to be even more unique star challenges in this sequel, something like defeating particular opponents in X punches?
That is something that we have tried to improve upon over the first game. You still have your KO and TKO stars. We can't show it in the demo because it literally doesn't exist in the demo. But each character has more stars for you to get, and they're much more tailored to each character than the first game. And you're also going to be earning lore. In the final game, you have an investigation board that you have to put together in order to do your job well. Making sure that you get the challenges completed is what fills in that board. And so I'm looking forward to what you all think of that.
Not related to Knockout, but Stick asks in Steam, non-knockout question, but what was the inspiration for the Finder Sweeper's gameplay loop being a reverse Minesweeper game?
That one was all Jason's idea. He really loves Minesweeper, and so he had kind of an idea to make a reversed version of Minesweeper.
Yeah, that was born out of a mini game. We had yeah, it's off the store now. But we had a word game called Wacko Words that
Yeah.
had mini games in between rounds. And then
Mhm.
one of our mini games was a reverse Minesweeper game called Gem Finder or something like that.
Yep.
And we just took that and made a whole game out of it.
Absolutely.
It's one of
And-
my favorite games that we've made.
I think it's better than a lot of people think.
Yeah, I think it could have. Yeah.
It's such a weird concept, though, that we don't really know how to market it. We could use everyone's advice on that. If you've played the game and you like it, please let us know.
Yeah, I wonder if the numbers scare everyone off. I don't know what it is. I actually really enjoy the game. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all the questions. Let us know. We're going to talk for a couple more minutes. If you have any questions, you can type them into YouTube, Steam, Discord, anywhere. Let's go ahead and ask another question from yesterday that we already asked. But how many fights will be in the final game, and will there be any EX fights?
Yeah, so there's currently 8 fights in the game, as well as no EX fights. However, in the final game, there's going to be prestige fights instead. So we've kind of already mentioned the prestige system a couple of times, but instead of kind of adding an additional character in the form of an EX character, we're now adding additional characters in the form of prestige characters. And that gives us a lot of room to continue and expand upon the game after launch, right? So if people really like the prestige system, you know, in theory we can add as many prestige prestige levels as possible, really. So unlike the EX fight where we were kind of limited, there wasn't, unless we have like EX2 or something, there wasn't really a way to continue to expand upon that outside of just adding new characters in general.
Mm-hmm. And those extra prestiges in the future can be as simple as one of your ideas. Come to us and say, what if this character put these attacks together a certain way? I bet that would be very fun and difficult. And we'd be like, yeah. You know, that right there could end up being in the game.
Besides the prestige fights, how else is the game replayable? Or the fights in the game replayable?
Yeah, so we've mentioned the missions system, and that's one of the ways that you can kind of change up the fight. So not only are there daily, weekly, and monthly missions, but you also have the opportunity to kind of build your own missions as well by applying whatever modifiers you want to the fight. And so it's really a way to kind of challenge yourself and also challenge your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Because we found that our Discord players really liked creating these silly little challenges for each other to complete, and so it gave us a way to kind of reward them for that and create their own custom missions.
So an example of that could be, let's say you wanted to really dial up, just theoretically, so much power in your special that you would knock down an opponent instantly. But to get there, you had to do a lot more regular punches to build up that special meter. That's something you could do. And that would be an interesting challenge is, you know, how can you maximize a character that has that limitation?
All right, last call for questions. We're running out here, so if you have it, type it in quickly into YouTube, Discord, Steam. I'm going to take a question from the community from yesterday. Casual Striking Grape asked from Discord, why does Knockout 2 have a Karen theme?
Honestly, just because it makes us laugh. And when we show it to other people, it makes them laugh. That's really the only reason we do any of this. We do get a ton of scam callers to our office here. And so I think that was probably the impetus behind Scam Brawlers being the first character. We're just all so tired of it. And it's a Karen. It's a type of Karen.
Ben's also a big fan of Kit Boga, so...
Oh yeah, Kit Boga, Jim Browning, all of those YouTube. I was watching those for years before this, and now I feel like I can give back a little bit in some small way.
From YouTube, Tides asks, I see characters have statistics on the pre-fight screen, nationality, etc., which election year Knockout didn't have past the beta. Any reason as to why it's implemented now or why you took it out of the last game?
Oh yeah, pardon me. I'd say the original reason for its exclusion is just space on screen. Here we're targeting Steam, we can get away with much smaller text, and we knowing that we had all this information and that it was worth the joke to put it somewhere, we designed the scenes accordingly. The first game, those were in there, but they didn't really fit. And so if something is going to confuse players or make something more difficult to navigate, as much as it hurts to cut, you gotta cut.
We also did it just to kind of really make these look like a true dossier, right? So the FBI, when they're doing investigations, they have dossiers on the subjects and suspects of their investigations. And so it really helped kind of build the different kind of UI we were making in Knockout 2 compared to Knockout 1. Because the UI here is very much, paper, pencil, pen, printed, and we kind of just wanted to go with that theme here. So in order to really sell that this is a dossier on, Scam Brawler, we of course had all the information that the FBI has collected on Scam Brawler.
It also benefits the game narratively. This game is much more story-driven than the first game. Having all this extra information for people that want it, it's out of the way for those who don't, I think makes it worth exploring the harder-to-reach regions of the game, to unlock all the lore, to read the game manual and all this stuff. I think it fleshes it out.
Cool. From Steam, Baby J asks,
It's alpha male.
is there any potential for DLC content past the full release?
The answer is always yes, especially if you guys tell all your friends that the game exists and it's the best thing you ever played.
Yeah, so we really would love to make more content for Knockout after it comes out and it's finished. So, yeah, basically if it does well, then the sky is the limit as far as content can be added. So the game itself is designed in a way where it's very easy to add new content to the game as long as we have the ability to do so.
Right. And case in point, the first game received, 3 total? Or was it 4? 4, right?
3 additional fights.
3
There's
additional fights.
Justin Turbo, and then there is Kim Jong-boon, as well as Vladimir Putin.
And before we started on a proper sequel, we had some sketches for very popularly requested characters like the 2008 presidential race. Before that, say Barack Obama, Dick Cheney, George Bush, Hillary Clinton. Like that first game, definitely election themed. But once we got into the Karen theme, we just kind of ran with this.
Yeah, and because of the theme of this game, really, there's not really much limitations on who we can add to this game, because in this world, everybody's becoming a Karen. So it doesn't matter if you're a LARPer, a car salesman, or a door-to-door salesman, which is kind of what the Heralds are, but not quite. They're more stereotyped towards the missionaries who go door-to-door, right? But, basically any trope or any caricature of somebody that people don't like is valid game for Knockout 2.
Maybe people who don't put their shopping carts back.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, that's all the questions we have. Thank you to everyone for writing in, and we're going to do this one more time at least tomorrow at 3 o'clock Pacific.
3 o'clock Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. I always have to do the math in my head.
And if you liked what you saw, then please give the demo a try. And if you like the demo, then please give it a wish list and buy the game when it comes out, because that really means a lot to us and it will help us to add more content like this.
Just today, Tyler put in a feedback button on the title scene here.
I'm not going to click it because if we click it, it's not actually going to show up on the stream. But if you click this, it's going to take you directly to your Steam overlay with a short little forum there where you can give your opinion and let us know what you actually think about the game.
Absolutely. Thank you again, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow. All right, I'm going to turn off the microphone and stop the stream.